Good day. My name is Jude Vincent Ferrer and this is my term report presentation entitled Integrated Production, Distribution, and Retail of Products and Services, Healthcare Systems Facilities Design Improvement for the New Normal. So for Chapter 1, Introduction, let's go over this. So just a brief history and background. Retail industry is a function central to all economies. It bridges the varied needs of consumers with specialized offerings of producers. So at the heart of these retailing functions comprises the building of assortments, physical logistics of merchandise, legal transactions with the customer, and the rendering of ancillary services. So traditionally, brick-and-mortar physical retailers have taken on these functions most of the time. Although other forms of retailing have existed, such as mail order operations, door-to-door formats, and the likes. So retail industry used for this study is Intercast Healthcare Corporation. So this company is a distributor and retailer of dental products and services to dental offices, labs, and dental colleges or schools. So let's go over the challenges for the retailers. So to make store level retail jobs interesting to the different employee types, and although retailers mainly focus their attention on career seekers, we find that working in retailing is also interesting for all employee types. So why is there a need for this study? For the next slides, I will talk about the problems and challenges for retailers during this pandemic. So challenges for retailers. So social distancing and reducing physical contact in the public is also recommended as it was to prevent the transmission of virus from the infected person. So COVID-19 pandemic. So 2 years ago, the coronavirus, until now, or also known as COVID-19, is an infectious disease that can be transmitted through cough or saliva of an infected person. It can cause severe pneumonia for those who got infected and can be fatal, especially for elderly people. So the problem statement of my research paper is one of the companies that have been greatly affected because of the pandemic is Intercast Healthcare Corporation. Uh, this company, as I've said earlier, is a distributor and retailer of dental products nationwide. So their daily operations have been influenced as a result of new regulations such as health and safety protocols that is mandated by the government that causes delay of distribution of their products to the consumers and late delivery of the supplies because they acquire it internationally. And in addition to that, they are in dental industry, which means there is a high possibility of transmission of the virus because their clients need to have physical contact to their patient, and to mention there is a decrease of total number of sales. For the reason of that is there are few people who go in dental clinics as a safety precaution. So objective of the studies are number one, to analyze the new health regulations at Intercast Healthcare Corporation's warehousing locations to see how they affect operational efficiency. Objective number two is to enhance Intercast Healthcare Corporation's facility management platform to accommodate the new normal during COVID-19. So the next one, significance of the study. So the significance of this research is that there is also a need to address multiple obstacles to how retail businesses manage their current systems, especially in this generation. Furthermore, it discusses the conditions that are in place in terms of managing retail facilities, planning to make better practices and better workflow in the facility. So let's go over the methodology or chapter 2. So the whole chapter presents the research structure, analysis methods, population and measurement, data collection, and statistical resources. So for the specified retail industry selected for the study, the researcher used Intercast Healthcare Corporation, which is a distributor of dental products and services. To add on, the company has been serving the dental industry since 1972. Also, it has international suppliers to make sure the quality of their products and services. And also, they have 150 dealers nationwide. On this slide, it shows the process that happens on the company as it's for operation since COVID-19 outbreak has started. There are few restrictions since there are less manpower and late deliveries due to limited transportation and shortage of stocks. So the intercast distribution schedules are daily for Metro Manila, every Thursday for Northern Luzon or NCL, every Friday for Southern Luzon or SL, and every Monday for Mindanao via what we call RORO. So the next part of my methodology, so let's go over the IPO models of this study or the input process output. I will discuss them one by one. So the IPO model for objective 1, as you can see, here's a better picture of how the goals will be achieved and is provided by the IPO model. So the IPO model for the first objective is shown in the diagram. So as you can see, we have the input process output. For the inputs, we have first the facility layout of the warehouse, then the health protocols in the workstation, the delivery schedule, and process of product making. Then for the process, we have the process mapping and Gantt chart. So the expected output will be the proposal of a new process map and proposal of a new work arrangement for warehouse staff. So let's go over the IPO model of objective number 2. So it's the same. So we have the input process output. So for the input, the assessment obtained from objective 1 output and the problems and issues seen on the layout. So for the process, we have the SLP or systematic layout planning, and the expected output will be improved facilities management system for the company. So we have the new layout for the new normal and the new policies and procedures for the new normal. So let's go over the process mapping and process flowchart. So a brief description. A process map is a tool for organizing and executing which visually represents workflow. So business process mapping is an effective tool within dental products and services retailers. So I, the researcher, use this methodology to physically map out corporate procedures so that any shareholder in the company would appreciate the correct functioning and stick to it. So here is the current process map of the company. So it starts with receiving the parcel of the delivery. The person in charge of receiving is the inventory clerk. Upon receiving, it will have to sign papers as proof that Intercast has indeed received the delivery items. Next is the inspection, which is handled by the warehouse manager. The manager inspects the quality of the goods as well as double checks the quantity which the clerk has priorly done during the receiving process. Then the inventory clerk will have to put away the items or remove them from the counter, which then be followed by the storage. And after storing, the clerk will have to move the items to their respective designation and racks. This is the called inventory moving process. Then next to this, the clerk shall also do a thorough physical count of all items, and this double checks the employees that have put the items accordingly. So next one of the methodology is the Gantt chart. So a Gantt chart is one of the project management tools that help to plan the schedule, the number of people in a certain project. This tool helps to reduce excessive manpower and optimize the time doing the given task. So the bar chart represents or visualizes the outline of all responsibilities and tasks in a timetable. This will help to make a schedule of fixed number of workers who will go to the warehouse to comply with health protocols. So as you can see on the figure, this is the current Gantt chart of the company. Yep, this is the current Gantt chart of the company. So the next one of the methodologies are systematic layout planning. So just a brief description, this is a way to optimize the retail design layouts concerning the product type and quantities. Study of the movement of products and components and layout relationships, and the relationship between the appropriate spaces of each other for each layout procedure. So this process is to be used in the IPO model number 2. So under the facility layout planning, we have the intercast warehouse layout and floor plan. Since the paper will focus on the facilities improvement, their warehouse and office is on the same building. So for the facility layout, the researcher, I, use this tool for an organization to have a successful and effective assembling unit. It is significant that extraordinary consideration is given to office design. So this is the current facility layout and floor plan of the company. So it's a way to optimize the retail design layouts concerning product type and quantities, and to study the movement of products and components between the appropriate spaces and each other for each layout procedure. So as you can see, the relationship of the floor plan and the layout warehouse. So A and B, two storage area for the supplies and products. C for counters, R for racks, and P for pantry. And please take note that C and R are part of A and B. So let's go over chapter 3, which is results and discussion. So this study aims to investigate the new health protocols on the warehouse facility of Intercast Healthcare Corporation and determine its effects to workplace productivity. So to improve facilities management systems of the company and as well as to adapt on the new normal during this pandemic COVID-19. So it responds to the following objectives and IPO as mentioned below. The results included within the chapter were proposals of new process flow and new work arrangement for warehouse staff during COVID-19 setting, and to recommend facility plan layout strategy to improve the efficiency of process involved in preparation to deliver the products. So, facility layout of the warehouse. So, in order to figure out where to begin and have a direction, the researcher first referred to the current facility layout and floor plan of Intercast shown on the next slide. So, this is the facility layout of the warehouse. So for checking counters, which the counters inspects and counts the items after they are received. 45 shelves allotted for storage, and there are several storage area variations in the warehouse of the company: primary pick, bulk, and overstock, which separates customer rules applied to each. So this is the warehouse floor plan of the company. Under the small room named storage, there are the counters wherein the in and outs of the items are being held. There is also a pantry for the employees' needs, and also a wider room named as storage. This is where the racks will be, and this is where the majority of the inventory will happen. So, as mentioned earlier, the delivery schedules would be daily for Metro Manila NCR, every Thursday for NCL, every Friday for SL, every Monday for Mindanao. So, warehouse process flow, this is the current one. It is also important to know the process flow of the inventory system. This enables the researcher to identify each process that partakes in the system. So this is the current warehouse process flow of the company. So the process flow starts once the employees responsible receive the items that are to be kept in the warehouse. Once parcel arrives, it will be directly be inspected by the counter employees designated to the station. When declared clear and good to go, the parcel will be put away and be stored, and the companies will then count the inventory of each item. Then once done, the employees now know how many does each rack has to be filled with new items, and they will be replenished. So the warehouse process flow remark details. The following slides explains thoroughly each step or process as previously shown on the process flow. The next slide provide an explanation for each process. So first one, receiving. Receive to put off inbound processing, track cost defects or overstock. So the company prints specific receipt labeling to better classify the products for accurate measurement for warehouse management. So next one, inspection. So the company promptly recognizes when stock is accessible for request assignment through the process. So the database will be revised after inventory has been reviewed. Put away. This reduces handling and transfers to find the inventory products accurately. And these adjustments are carried out in real time. Bulk storage. There are several storage area variations in the company, with separate customer rules applied to each. So the next one, inventory moving. An entire pallet or individual amounts of products and deliver the inventory to one or more sites in the warehouse and storages of the company. Next one is counting. So service reliability. So other warehouse operations are not interrupted by your counts. So the company also implements the full physical inventory count. Replenishment. So Intercast or the company ensure that the main inventory sites are always replenished. The warehouse receives resupply requests and guides the operation considering the standards of lot rotation. Next one is picking. So the company sometimes the first pick is often shipped directly to a packaging area. The second picking method is subject to such primary picks, particularly when picked products must be assigned to clustered orders or distinct orders. Quality control. So standard approval of the 10% defect on an item. If there's a damage, then return all products within an 11% or higher defect percentage to the warehouse for another inspection. So packaging and packing. In purchase order, the company consolidates selected items and schedules them for shipping to the consumer. One of the main packaging duties is to ensure that damage is reduced from the moment the products exit the warehouse. Delivery or shipping. The tracking shipping information such as container IDs, weights, reference for carrier tracking and cost for shipping. So summary, through the previous slides, it was discussed that it is in the counting process that workers count the quantity of items. This is done through an implemented full physical inventory count. So after the counting, replenishment process comes next. This is to ensure that the main inventory sites are always replenished. And the warehouse department receives guides the operations considering the rotation of each product. Next one, warehouse process flow Gantt chart. This is the current one. So the researchers also conducted a Gantt chart of the company's process flow. As previously identified, the tasks are as follows: receiving, inspecting, putting away, bulk storage, inventory moving, counting, replenishment, picking, quality control, packaging, and delivery. These tasks are identified as to how many days do they take to finish the process. So this is the current process flow Gantt chart. So the purpose of this is to be able to identify which processes is considered as a bottleneck. Through the Gantt chart, the researchers were able to assess that the process that needs manpower the most is the delivery process. This is because the workers will have to pick the items and transport it to another location or to the consumers. So the Gantt chart of current work arrangement for warehouse staff. So as previously mentioned, the process that needs the most manpower is delivery. So this can be easily seen through the Gantt chart end of each process. So the top processes with the longest time to finish are inventory moving, replenishment, and delivery. So let's go over the improved or the proposal of new process flow in the warehouse. So this is the new process flow in the warehouse. The following diagram is an improved process flow chart in the warehouse. So this improved the process itself given the new health protocols due to COVID-19 pandemic situation. So the process starts with allocating workstations at least 6 to 7 feet away from each other. These workstations pertain to counters as well as the racks. So to implement a social distancing work area for tool sanitation and mandatory wearing of face mask and face shield at all times when public places in and workplaces. So, and also mandatory checking of employees' temperature if the employee is properly wearing a face mask. So also the parcel arrives and so that the warehouse receive it. Upon receiving, this should disinfect properly the items in order to stop possible spread of the virus through the items. And the process of putting away the items will be improved in a way that the new system will be implemented. This is the one-way traffic flow, or all hallways will be limited to a one-way flow. This aims to support the social distancing protocol in the workplace. And after putting away, the process of bulk storage and inventory moving will take place. Both processes should follow the one-way traffic flow system. So also, the replenishing and the picking process will have to follow another new system, which is the parallel picking modification. This means that each hallway, there will be an assigned one or few employees assigned to each. So they would not be allowed, or at least should avoid crossing hallways. This way, there will be very minimal interaction and an effective social distancing among all employees without compromising their productivity at the same time. So also, quality inspection, where if there is more than 10% of defects, items will be returned to the supplier. After packaging, the employees will have to prepare for delivery or shipping. Before leaving the warehouse, it's also a requirement for the guards to check the employee's temperature. So proposal of a new process flow for a warehouse remarks and details. So to handle social distancing, to allocate workstation at least 7 feet away, using visual markers on the floor, to mark their reserved room to make it visible for the staff. Also implementing a social distancing work area for tool sanitation, to establish a workforce responsible for cleaning and disinfection of shared resources in between operation. So also face mask and temperature check before entering the warehouse. This is often done on workers arriving uh, before entering and leaving the workplace. So disinfection is done for products after receiving an equipment or vehicles entering the establishments, including facilities touch objects such as doorknobs and the likes. So we go over again, receiving, inspection. Uh, in here, we implement the one-way traffic flow. So the researcher, I adjusted the traffic flow from a two-way street to a one-way flow to abide to the social distancing guidelines. So put away, again bulk storage, inventory moving, counting, replenishment, and the next solution proposed is the parallel picking modification. So the objective here is to reduce the number of touches of various individuals and to maintain individuals in their assigned workplace to minimize the possibility of widespread exposure in the warehouse. So with the parallel picking, an order is distributed and simultaneously processed between different picking locations. When all the partial orders have been completed, they are again consolidated to form the full order at a collection point. So to simplify, parallel order pickings is the separation of the picking areas into separate small areas, resulting in a major shortening of the distances of the order pickers, thereby reducing physical interaction at the same time. So again, quality control, packaging or packing, and the lastly, delivery or shipping. And last but not the least, temperature check before leaving the warehouse. Temperature checks are often done on workers exiting the warehouse. The next one is proposal of work arrangement for warehouse staff using Gantt chart. So the table shows the summary information of the researchers' proposed work arrangement to be presented in a Gantt chart. It contains the information, start date, number of workers, priority status, and resources. So the following is a Gantt chart of the improved work arrangement for warehouse staff. So as seen, start date is on January 16. So this process is much shorter when compared to the current work arrangement of the company. The maximum number of workers that will be needed for the process uh, during the delivery and shipping, the longest process will be inventory moving and inspecting. So these procedures could not be compressed further because both processes needs to be thorough. So summary of solutions. So uh, number one-way traffic flow. One of the solutions that the researchers think that is effective for this study is the one-way traffic flow. It's a traffic that moves in a single direction. Having this system improves coordination among employees as well as clear in traffic considering the new health protocols as brought by COVID-19. The next solution is the parallel parking modification. Uh, Another method that researchers suggest is the parallel modification because it improves order picking efficiency. Parallel picking is an order picking technique that can be used to improve the efficiency and accuracy in industrial product order picking operations. So the last one is the systematic layout planning. So the researchers aim to propose an improved floor plan in order for the process to be more optimized, meaning less movements within the warehouse but with the same amount of work output. So before being able to do so, the researcher first have to determine the following: relationship diagram, space requirements, other considerations, and this is the only time the researcher are able to determine the optimal block layout. This is further explained through the diagram and for the next slides. So to start off the systematic layout planning, the figure in this slide is the current warehouse layout of the company. So the next one is the relationship diagram. It gives a snapshot of how processes relate to each other. It can be applied, or it can be called a blueprint that underpins the business architecture, offering a visual representation of the relationship between different sets of data. So the diagram above is the process flow of intercast inventory system. So the figure in this slide is the relationship chart between all the processes. It indicates the relationship of one process to each other. And as an example, storing an inventory is A over 3, meaning the closeness rating between the two processes are absolutely necessary. Moreover, this means that the place for storage should be close to the inventory place for the two processes are rela- relevantly connected. Next is the tree, which means that the communication between these processes is most relevant. So here are the legends or markings of each code. One means that the material used from the former process will be the same materials to be used in the latter process. Two means that the both processes will have to share the same equipment. And lastly, three means that there must be communication between employees for both processes to be executed properly. Closest rating. Moreover, here as the ratings, A means that both processes absolutely needs to be close in terms of facility layout. So U means that it does not really matter if the place where both processes takes place are near or far to each other. Then X means that the places of both processes should not be anywhere near each other, and the rest follows. This slide is the constructed space diagram for the SLP. And this is the line in meaning. So uh, this is self-explanatory. So straight line meaning A, double line meaning E, line with arrow meaning O, and dash line meaning U. So the following table is the space requirement per area or per process. So this size requirement should be followed alongside with the new workplace protocols amidst the social distancing due to COVID-19 pandemic. All employees in the warehouse are required to observe social distancing at all times, and employees should be 1 meter away from each other. So other requirements as follows are electrical requirement, building shape and footprint, truck yard. So this is the block layout. So the current floor layout of Intercast, due to the cost constraints, the researchers suggest not to add more resources such as an additional counter. Although doing so would make the whole process from receiving to shipping much faster. Instead, the process along with the layout could be improved if one of the two counters would be for disinfection. Moreover, with the racks, the researcher suggested to leave it as is because the racks are already classified according to the items. And this is why with the new two systems should be implemented in the warehouse. So it will be more of the workarounds of the employees rather than the changes in the warehouse layout. So this is the new warehouse block layout of Intercast Healthcare Corporation. The warehouse only has one door that is located on the upper side of the shipping. This is why, although receiving and inspection are the first two processes, shipping comes first because it is in the shipping process that the items will go out of the warehouse and they have to be segregated properly and neatly among the other items. So for chapter 4, we have the conclusion and recommendation of this study. So I split it into two. So let's talk about objective one first. So to analyze the new health regulations and uh, warehousing locations to see how they affect operational efficiency. So the researcher has considered the following conditions in the research for a better warehouse facility framework. So the government's implementation of new occupational health guidelines such as social isolation and less human contact, the limitations in the warehouse present work process, the potential for errors in inventory and item removal, and the connections between each operation for a smoother workflow. So in order to formulate a different workflow in the warehouse, a new process map in the shipment and recommendation of new work arrangement for the warehouse employees of the company. The researcher, I, conducted a process mapping and Gantt charting based on the data collected on layout design of the warehouse, health guidelines, distribution process, and the warehouse workflow. So the one-way traffic flow represents one of the ideas the experts believe would work for this investigation. So the traffic that only travels in one direction is referred to as one-way traffic or the unidirectional traffic. Having this technology or methodology enhances the employee coordination and makes traffic flow more freely in the light of the new health guidelines brought forth by COVID-19. So this makes possible for the staff to work efficiently while adhering to the new guidelines. So the researchers also recommend parallel picking adjustment since it increases the effectiveness of order selecting. So this method enables the best order picking process and improve productivity by combining automated storage and retrieval systems with non-automated systems. So also to suggest a new work schedule for the warehouse employees, the researcher created a Gantt chart depicting the company's warehouse process flow. The activities include receiving, inspecting, putting away, bulk storage, transferring inventory, counting, replenishing, picking, quality control, packaging, and delivery as previously said. As shown in the Gantt chart for the enhanced work schedule for warehouse personnel and in comparison to the company's work schedule now in place. This approach is substantially quicker. So let's go over for objective number two to enhance Intercast uh, facility management platform to accommodate the new normal during pandemic COVID-19. So as the COVID-19 outbreak and facility management fight for control, additionally, the virus pandemic interrupted even the best run businesses and operations and maintenance were becoming less routine. So the company is using a new facility management technique as the disease spreads. In order to do this, the researcher examined the work schedules within the warehouse where they observed that the workers rotate through various break periods during lunch to preserve social distancing inside the pantries. The researchers advised against acquiring more resources such as an extra counter because of the cost restriction. However, doing would speed up the entire process from receiving to shipping. Instead, if two of the counters were designated for sanitizing, the procedure and arrangement would be enhanced. Due to this, the warehouse need to adapt two new systems, the one-way traffic flow and modified parallel picking. As a result, rather than alterations to the warehouse arrangement, the staff will become more responsible. Thank you.